there for Shawn. Well, who is Shawn Carney, this handsome young man who's with us today? He's the president right now of 40 Days for Life. You were the co-founder of that beautiful organization. You could go to their website. It's 40daysforlife.com. Well, Shawn, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. We've had you on radio before. We've interviewed you in San Francisco.
Yes.
And so it's so good to have you here,
It's
at
great,
our home.
great to be here. Last time we were in California at the West Coast Walk for Life. And now we get to be here in Alabama, where they fry vegetables once they get them. So it's good. Yeah. It's good to be in this part of the country.
Yesterday I was in Nashville, and this is what it said. It said chocolate-covered bacon.
Yeah, and so those are healthy.
Oh my gosh! And all the other best food groups.
Bacon gives you energy.
It's like, oh my gosh!
Enjoy.
Yeah, only in the South.
Only in the South. I was over the weekend in Worcester, Massachusetts. Worcester is what they say in Massachusetts at a Catholic men's conference I got to speak at for the diocese. They had over 1,200 men at this conference, and so I was there Saturday, and now I got to come back to the South.
Yeah, Joy, we were up in Nashville, as Joy said. She had about 600 to 700 women. And that's really encouraging, isn't it? 1,200 men coming together, 700 women coming together. That's all that we know, and there's other places doing it. It's really signs of renewal.
Oh, it's great signs of renewal. And I mean, you're not going to see that kind of stuff in the media unless it's through EWTN, but there really is a renewal. And, you know, there were 1,200 Catholic men at this event, and there was a foot of snow. They had a huge ice snowstorm come through, which I was completely ill-prepared for. And yet all these men got up in the morning, and the conference started at 8:30, and it was just great. So it's very encouraging to see.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Well, tell our family a little bit about Shawn, the family you were raised in, your schooling, your education, your love, your family, and then how did you get to be
We only
here?
want to know the nice stuff.
Oh, the nice, well, that's the boring stuff. Yeah, well, I'm from a Catholic family, was always raised Catholic, raised pro-life. I am from Tyler, Texas, which is the hub of Catholicism in Texas. It is 3% Catholic, the Diocese of Tyler. And went to a wonderful Catholic school, Bishop Gorman, and just was really very blessed with wonderful formation. You know, there were so few Catholics in East Texas at the time that we were a missionary diocese. So we got our priests from the greatest place on earth, Ireland. We had Irish priests that joyfully came over, took much sacrifice, and were part of our diocese and taught in the schools. And they really had a tremendous positive impact on me. I mean, if you don't like the Irish, there's just something wrong with you.
But with a name like Shawn Carney,
exactly.
How Irish are you?
Exactly. So it was wonderful to see them courageously live their vocations, and particularly defend the sanctity of human life. And they did so often, and they did so with joy. And that was really contagious for me in high school. So I got involved in the pro-life movement in high school and discerned the priesthood through high school as well.
Sounds very much like our own diocese here in Birmingham, a missionary diocese, Irish priest, and one who I think of, Father James E. Coyle, who gave his life in the process, who was assassinated when there was a great anti-Catholic bigotry in the 20s. And he stood firm on the faith. His life was under threat for years, would not compromise the faith, and wound up being assassinated. So the Irish priests have sown the word and the sacrament, and even with their own blood, to bring the gospel in fullness and the church to America.
Yeah, and it's the nature of the church to be missionary. You know, I mean, we go all over the world to bring Christ to the world, and yet you talk about the renewal that is happening in our own country. We live in a culture of death, and we need to be evangelized. We need renewal, and for me, it was Irish priests in East Texas, a place that was 3% Catholic, and now that place is booming with vocations, as are other dioceses across the South. You know, you see Nashville and Memphis and Atlanta and Charlotte and Birmingham. In England, they would say Birmingham, but they don't know how to speak English. We say Birmingham. And you see all these vocations coming about, and it's very encouraging to see that there really is that renewal.
So take us down your journey. You're a committed Catholic young man, pro-life. What were you doing before 40 Days for Life? What led up to 40 Days for Life for you?
Well, I was on my way to law school. I met a wonderful woman Mary Lisa, and we dated, and she really got me involved in the pro-life movement on an activist level. She was a sidewalk counselor, and we would go out, and at the time, I'd never seen an abortion facility because there wasn't one in Tyler, Texas. And when I went to college at Texas A&M University, she invited me out. I didn't really want to go the first time. I thought, I've never done anything like that before, but it's a great challenge. And,
when you say sidewalk counselor, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Well,
for those who don't know.
Absolutely. You know, these are people that not only go out to pray at the abortion facilities, but actually offer help. They reach out to the women and the men and those who work in the abortion industry and offer alternatives. And Mary Lisa was a fantastic sidewalk counselor. And so, you know, I went out for the first time.
And that's a strange world now, right?
It is.
Because you're really at a center. I mean, you're seeing maybe for the first time women going in pregnant who may come out not pregnant any longer, right? So this is like, did you feel disoriented? You said, this can't be, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, people, you think about the media stereotype, which is the women are leaping out of their cars, screaming about reproductive rights, and the Christians are sitting there yelling at them, waving a Bible, telling them they're going to burn in hell. And of course, it's the complete opposite. It's very real there. You know, abortions don't happen on the bench at the Supreme Court or in the White House. They happen in our neighborhoods. And then you insert yourself in a prayer vigil that's going on where these abortions take place. It becomes very real. And no one grows up wanting an abortion. So they're not leaping out of their cars. They're very sad. It's very still. No one wants to be there. The woman doesn't want to be there. The boyfriend doesn't want to be driving. And the workers ultimately don't want to be there. And yet you're there, witnessing that simple love and mercy of Christ right there on the front lines of the culture war. And when we go out there, we can bring so much joy. So I think what struck me the first time going out was the response, was the openness to speaking to sidewalk counselors, or the openness to realizing these people aren't out here judging you. Quite the opposite. They're out here offering the freedoms and the choice that you think that you have on the other side of the fence that you really don't have.
So what were your next steps as you got your orientation and saying, well, what does this mean for me? What's going on here, and what's God calling me to in particular?
Yeah, well, I mean, that really struck me as a young 18, 19-year-old college kid, and I was wanting to go to law school, was on my way to law school, and the local pro-life organization hired me. David B. Wright was the man who originally hired me, and you know, a few months later, we saw our local abortion numbers going up. I had the joy of working at the Coalition for Life. That was the local pro-life organization in College Station, Texas. And in 2004, we saw our local abortion numbers going up, and so, you know, we just prayed. And 40 days just came to us as that time frame that God uses and that the church uses for renewal, to call his own people back and to call upon him to transform our culture. And that led to the first ever 40 Days for Life campaign in the fall of 2004.
So you and David show up, right? Do you have a contingency of others that joined you? I mean, how many people birthed 40 Days for Life? I mean, you show up, I mean, because it's all over the world now. And so in its small beginnings right there in Collegeville, there you are. How's it going?
Well, we launched our campaign 2 weeks before, which, you guys have led 40 Days for Life campaigns, and you're supposed to have months to do it, and we didn't have that for the first one. We launched it 2 weeks before, and we started our vigil at midnight. The first day of the campaign, we went out there at midnight, and there were about 100 people that came out, and that's when we really saw the fruit of God calling people to do this very basic thing.
For those who don't know, when you say the vigil, you're speaking about how many hours out at the site, shared time with other people?
Exactly. And we
24 hours?
24 hours was the first campaign. We did 40 days of prayer and fasting, 40 days of community outreach, raising awareness about the reality of abortion in our community, and then 40 days of a nonstop peaceful vigil outside of our local Planned Parenthood abortion facility. And so our vigil was 24 hours. Now campaigns are either 12 hours or 24 hours. And it's very powerful to be out there, and it's for the workers especially. You're there when they show up and before they show up. You're there all during the day. You're there when they leave. You're there when you know, they're getting ready to go to bed that night and they think about you. Holding vigil at that site, it has a tremendous impact on them. And so it was very powerful.
Yeah.
And it dropped our local abortion numbers by 28% that first year.
Incredible. Now, did you invite other people who said they couldn't be out there with you to engage in prayer? Did that begin then as well, where people could not necessarily be at the site, but they were praying in other places, or how did that grow?
Yes, that grew. That's a great point, too, because when we launched it nationally, 3 years later, when we really saw other communities wanting to do it after the first campaign, the first thing that we did in our office was I asked a staff member to write many of the religious orders around the world, and particularly here in the United States, and just pray for this effort, because the cloistered nuns, they can't go out to the vigil. If they do, they'd probably get in trouble, because you got to jump the wall and go to the vigil. But they can pray, and that's the most powerful prayer, is that of the religious before the Blessed Sacrament. And so we wrote to them, and they prayed, and there were nursing homes that have handed out some of the daily devotions. And it really has a tremendous impact and empowers those who do physically go out and put themselves on the front lines and pray at the abortion facility.
And how effective was EWTN and radio and television and other networks that promoted you?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, we couldn't have done it without EWTN, that's for sure, because that was the summer of 2007. We felt called to really launch it, and I had the opportunity to do a mini-series on EWTN a few months before, and as I was, you know, writing the material and everything, we just ended up throwing it out and using it to launch 40 Days for Life, and it was June 25th of 2007 when EWTN aired our documentary launching the first ever 40 Days for Life campaign that took place in the fall of 2007. But, you know, David and I, we expected maybe 20 or 25 cities to participate in that first nationally coordinated campaign, and we were blown away when 89 cities in 33 states signed up for that first nationally coordinated one, and it was because of the religious media and Catholic radio and Focus on the Family and Relevant Radio. I mean, they really got it out there, and frankly took a risk, because we were an unknown, you know, and you could talk about prayer and fasting, but that really has to be the center. It just can't be what you say it's going to be.
It's been absolutely incredible to observe, and as I was trying to say at the beginning of the show, I think it is probably the most effective mobilization of grassroots people out of anything I've ever heard of. And I was involved in the rescue movement years back, and it was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful movement to nonviolently and prayerfully sit in at abortion mills and to interpose yourself there. And many, many people came forth. Of course, we got hammered by the government and penalties and so on. Any days.
But we were having fun. And we were saving babies.
Fun.
And
So
you've got the stories now.
We
for
do.
for the
It
kids
was
and the
great.
grandkids.
But that also kind of seemed to chill going out to abortion centers.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, well, then do I have to get arrested, or what's going to take place?
What are all the rules and
it was real.
regulations?
People
Can I
would still go
stand
out and
here?
pray to some degree in Sidewalk Council, but then, you know, 40 Days for Life began, and this really gave a place to land. Something doable. It was clear. You know, you're calling us to intercede, calling to pray. Sidewalk councils can work there as well, sharing. Other people could pray wherever they are. And you gave a 40-day period, which I thought was, you know, also good, because this begins and then it ends, and it begins and it ends. And of course, it never ends. You're doing things, but that particular campaign, and that seemed doable, and I can re-up or not or do something else. So it was beautiful how it all kind of came together.
It all does come together. I remember being in the 8th grade in my confirmation retreat, seeing a video on the rescues, having no idea what was ahead of me in my own life. But the courage that took, and having so many people who were part of the rescues saying, I landed at 40 Days for Life. There was a break, and we've got to get out there. We've got to go back out there. There were other people like y'all who led campaigns after being part of the rescues, and you know, it is peaceful, and it is legal, and it is easy in the sense that you're not going to be arrested when you participate in 40 Days for Life, and everybody signs a statement of peace, and we've never had an incident or anything like that out at a vigil, but it does have a tremendous impact to actually go out and peacefully pray at these places.
And for me, I mean, because we did just about everything you could do, and then there was this lull, and then when 40 days came, it was like a rebirth. And so I got a couple of my friends. I was like, let's do it, you know. And then of course Jim did it, and we just joined Jim, and then people came back out again, and then more people, and it just grew and grew. And our first campaign that we did here in Birmingham, we did do the 24 hours. We had some of those men that stayed, you know, but those prayers and the power and the presence and the witness to come back out again, to bring the older people and then the newer people. And I think that's what 40 Days for Life has done. It's brought the old and the new and the Protestant and the Catholic all back.
It really has, and that's one of the joys of it. When the 40 Days for Life book came out, you know, two of the first endorsements were George Weigel, the biographer of St. John Paul II, and Jim Daly, the president of Focus on the Family. We have seen a lot of Catholics, evangelicals, Protestants come together on it. And you know, you mentioned the 24-hour vigils and going out there. We get to do this in this country. You know, I mean, our hardest persecution is people driving by and, you know,
Yelling
telling us we're number one, you know, or sharing their opinion as they do in San Francisco. But really, you know, our weather. And one of the tremendous sacrifices, we're here in the South, you know, where it's 80 degrees in the winter on some days. But in the North, you know, when we did that first campaign in the fall, it was really the inspiration of a leader in St. Paul, Minnesota, Brian Gibson, who said, we want to do it during Lent. We didn't do it in the fall. We want to do it during Lent. And
it's
Ash
freezing
there.
Oh,
crazy. And, you know, we were like, maybe we'll do it next fall again, next year. He said, no, we got to do it during Lent. And so that led to the fall campaign and the Lent campaign, and they did 24 hours in St. Paul, Minnesota. In Ash Wednesday that year was February the 6th.
Gosh, well, let's take a break at this point. Shawn Carney is here with us, president of 40 Days for Life. We want to hear from you. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Not afraid of any kind of question, because Shawn knows everything about pro-life, and so we're just too thrilled to have the president of 40 Days for Life with us. And you can go to their website, 40daysforlife.com, and check them out, because a campaign is happening right now in your area, and it will happen until when is
April the 9th.
April 9th.
340 cities right now.
So beautiful.
Shawn, share with us some of the impact that's taken place over these years of these various campaigns of prayer and fasting and vigil and going out into the community, and say the statistics slowly, because they're really people. And I've got the stats, so I'm going to check what you're saying here. Because like I said at the beginning of the show, I said hundreds of thousands of people involved. I felt like I was like making something up. Like, who gets hundreds of thousands of people? But share some of the beautiful stats.
Well, you know, ultimately 40 Days for Life is an invitation, you know, at the local level and through networks like EWTN to be part of this and to go out and to peacefully pray. So 40 Days for Life has gone from one city, College Station, Texas, to now 675 cities in 40 countries around the world. We've seen 40 Days for Life go to Hong Kong and Moscow. Our first campaign in Rome is going on right now. And you know, that's because 750,000 people have participated in this effort, and it's just tremendous to see. I know one of the things that we're asked about a lot, today we sent this out, Monday we send out the emails updating the number of the babies that have been saved from abortion. And you know, we just hit the 13,000th baby who was saved.
To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. I mean, and those are the ones that we know of, that we confirm with our local leaders. We know that the mom chose life, and they've helped the mom. But 13,000 babies. I'll never forget this mom who went into a large abortion facility in Southern California, and she saw the local 40 Days for Life people outside praying. She went in, she you know, got her name called, went back, and was literally laying on the table about to have the abortion. And she had the IV in her arm, and she just looked up and remembered those 3 or 4 people that were out there praying and she sat up, she ripped the IV out of her arm, she sprinted out of the surgical room, left her shoes in the surgical room, sprinted down the hallway, through the lobby, and through the parking lot of that abortion facility, and a few months later gave birth to a beautiful baby boy.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
And you know, in our sort of cynical culture where it says, you know, you have your opinion and I have mine and it doesn't matter, it just shows that when we show up, it is never too late to witness the beauty and the joy and the love of Christ, even in places where the world says we shouldn't be, or would say that it doesn't matter if you are there. That mom literally sprinted her son to life. And you know, that's one of 13,000 babies that we know of who've been spared at the last moment.
Let's pause right there. Joy, let's take this email.
Okay, it says, I'm a college student and I have a lot of friends who are pro-life, but the pro-life movement is not a big part of their busy college lives. They give a lot of time to other popular causes, and by the end of the day, there's just not enough time for everything. How do I convince them that if we fail to protect life, the other causes don't really matter? And this is Cindy from Ames, Iowa.
Ames, Iowa, great campaigns in Iowa, by the way. I had a manager, a former Planned Parenthood manager, lead a 40 Days for Life campaign in Iowa.
You're like Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man.
I've
been everywhere.
Exactly.
You have.
I've been everywhere,
I've never
man.
been called Johnny Cash before, so that's good. I hope my kids are watching. So, actually, they should be at school. But, you know, it's a great question because now I'm 35 years old and everybody wants to be involved in everything. And I think the challenge to young people is to do something that is hard, that really is a little countercultural. I mean, everything now with our moral relativism, everything's acceptable. You can believe anything, you can do anything, you can claim all sorts of things about yourself. And you know, I had a buddy of mine say it's easy to sign up and protect the environment. Nobody's ever been persecuted for wanting to protect the environment. You know, and you know, if you wear that T-shirt around the mall all day, it's like, keep it up. You know, but abortion is supposed to be accepted by everybody after 44 years of legalization, and yet more people are pro-life now than ever. And you know, when you defend a beautiful little baby boy or baby girl and that baby boy and baby girl's mom, you change the world. You know, you change a generation. There was a family that came out, their granddaughter was saved from a 40 Days for Life in California, and they came to the celebration rally when the Planned Parenthood, when the abortion facility closed, and they had the baby who was saved, the teenage mom, the mom, the grandma, and the great-grandma. You know, generations of women that were there. And that's what you're impacting. You're impacting generations whenever you participate in the pro-life movement. And we need to do that as young people. And on the practical level, everybody in college now could have been aborted.
That's right.
They were that option was there.
Right.
And they're survivors in a sense of a culture of death. And it's just a great joy and a great honor to be able to invite your friends in college and say, look, this is the issue of our time. Because as she said in her email, without life, there are no other rights. There are no other
issues, right, if we're not alive. You know, we work with our local campaign here at 40 Days for Life, and we've seen, you know, I chart for them. When a client comes in, we put a PP on her chart, so we know at the end of the campaign I'm going to give a count off how many clients came that were referred by Planned Parenthood, how many saves, how many chose life, you know, and that's how we participate. We also give ultrasound coupons, free ultrasound coupons. So when they're out there praying, they say, her choice is right around the block. Just go there and get your free ultrasound, because if you go in there, they're going to charge you $150, $180. You go there, you need to go over your options, because all the state laws are different, right? I mean, and that's the scary thing. I mean, we all think that she's going to have an ultrasound. She's going to have time to think about it. She's going to have parental consent if she's a minor. And so nationally, I mean, all the 40 days, it changes for them. And so, I mean, in Alabama, we have good laws, and that's been good.
Shawn, I want you to share the other statistics that you've got. You have something about abortion workers who've come out and abortion facilities that have closed?
Yeah, the abortion workers is just unbelievable.
About how many do you know of?
143 abortion facility workers.
143 people working inside.
And those are people that had a conversion and left. There is a number that we don't share publicly of just the workers that get mad because these religious lunatics are outside their door and they say we don't want anything to do with it, so they hate.
We're glad they left too.
Yeah, they hate their job. And praise God,
maybe
maybe they'll convert later. But
these are really converted
those
people.
are actual people who were working in the abortion facility and had a change of heart. Many people know the story of Abby Johnson, who ran the Planned Parenthood abortion facility where 40 Days for Life first began in College Station, Texas. And she and her husband became Catholic a couple of years ago. And I had the joy of sponsoring her husband into the church. And, you know, Abby, who many people have heard her story, she was the 26th abortion facility worker to have a change of heart during a 40 Days for Life campaign. So there have been 143, and I can't tell you the role of the Christians who go out there and peacefully pray. And, you know, at first, of course, they don't like you and they don't want you there. There's no mystery about that. But, you know, it rains and it sleets and it's 108 degrees, and there's a respect that grows over time. 40 days can seem like a long period of time when you're working inside the abortion facility and you see these people out there praying for you. And, you know, I always tell leaders and volunteers, you can only be crazy for so long. They can only call you crazy for so many days or weeks before a real respect is birthed. And that happens. And that's why, praise God, those 143 people had the courage and the humility, like Abby, to leave.
Yeah. Well, you don't necessarily use this language, but 40 days really is an incarnational, sacramental apostolate. I mean, because you're there. You put a face on Christ and a face on love and a face on mercy. And like you say, it just kind of wears down some people sometimes, even inside, and they begin to respect what you're doing. I like to refer to it, somebody else said the phrase, but the ministry of proximity. You know, and God came close to us in Jesus. He became as one of us and was there. And if you just show up and press up against the gates of hell, they will not prevail against the church. I think that's what you're doing with 40 days. You're pressing, you're pushing into it, and things just start happening.
It is a great way to put it. I mean, it's very sacramental in the sense that it physically represents the spiritual reality, which is that you do not have to have an abortion today. And there are people that love you, and there is mercy. You know, when you're out there praying, you're the last sign of hope for the baby as he or she is escorted in to have their life taken. But you're also the first sign of mercy to the mom who doesn't expect it when she leaves after the abortion. And that is profound in that your body language, your prayers, what you say, what you don't say, it has a tremendous impact on her. And, you know, 25% of 40 Days for Life campaigns are led by women who have actually had an abortion.
Say that again.
25% of all the local campaign leaders are women who have had an abortion. And sometimes it's in front of the abortion facility, you know, they went into 30 years ago to have their abortion. So I think that physical presence represents, as Mother Teresa said, the hands and feet of our Lord at a place where the workers don't expect to find it, and the women entering and leaving don't expect to see it.
And you know, I can remember we were at the clinic one time, and a girl, we were there when she went in, and she waited, and she came out, and she was doing the abortion shuffle, and she looked at me right in the eyeballs, and she said to me, "Lady, you don't want to talk to me now." And I said, "Yes, I do, because now you might need me more than when you went in." And I was able to hand her some material, and she just got in the car, and we just locked eyes. And when she pulled away, I just broke my heart. And that's the commitment and the love and the sacrifice and the care that people are out there. And we want to care for you even after you have your abortion. Come back. We're still going to be on the sidewalks. If you need help, if you need post-abortion healing, if everything that we said to you before you went in, now it came true, and you're hurting and you just can't get past this, we want to love you. We're here for you.
And the world says, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you offer that love. It's all just talking points. And yet when you're physically there, we had an abortion doctor who did abortions for years. And he came out one day, he asked to speak to our leader. This was at a Virginia campaign. And the guy just rolled down his window, the abortion doctor, and said, "I need to see a priest." And our leader saw his hand trembling. And the guy had left the church, became an abortionist, and it was just saying that prayer over and over again outside of his office. And he met with a priest, and that was the last abortion he ever did, was the day that he left and asked for help.
And this is so important to remember and recall, because the loss of the baby is so devastating and violent and physical. We trust that that baby is with the Lord. We have a reason to hope. But we forget about souls. The soul of the woman, the soul of the guy who's the father of the baby, or the soul of the grandparents that may be paying for an abortion, who, for somebody to have an abortion. The doctor. These are souls that are going to spend eternity someplace. Never mind the physical death, but where are you going to spend eternity? And to have somebody out there day after day, and then they finally get the message, these people aren't here to kill me. They're trying to love me. And like, what's going on? That he could roll down the window and say, "I need to see a priest."
And that's a tremendous.
It's a soul.
It's a soul, and that is a responsibility of the baptized when we put ourselves in that position to meet these souls. We can't be naive. This is a spiritual battle, and we go out and we pray. They are going to see us. The abortionist is going to have to see our presence. Those who are counseling for an abortion, the lady who runs the credit card machine, they're all going to see that. And it's our responsibility to keep their souls in view. Because they will tempt us, and they don't want us out there. And they'll say, "Get out of here." They'll insult us, and they'll call us names. They'll insult the church. They'll insult priests. They'll insult everybody. It's the world. And yet it's our responsibility to keep Christ at the center of this when we put ourselves in the position to encounter some of these souls. Because there's one thing that I've learned after 15 years of doing this work. It's that inside the abortion facility is great evil, and yet outside we can offer great hope. And this really is about hearts and minds, and it really is about souls, and we have to remember that, because all of this work and the stats are great, and all the wonderful local leaders who make this work possible will tell you none of it matters without prayer. None of it matters without having that silent prayer with God before we go out to pray.
Well, we have Brody on the phone. Brody, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for Shawn?
Yes, Shawn. I'm a local organizer in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and I'm also a pro-life Democrat. I'm asking, how can organizers like me reach out to non-traditional pro-life activists like the pro-life Democrats in my community and around the country?
I would use it as a rallying cry for unity. Despite your political identification, there are Democrats that are pro-life, there are Republicans that are not pro-life, but everybody should want to defend life based on the fact that it's the founding of our country. We get all of our other rights from the right to life. And I always make that as the center. One of the good things, there's so much polarization in our country politically. I don't know if y'all have seen this. Maybe this is news to everybody. But
that's fake news.
That's fake news. EWTN is not fake news, that's for sure. But, there's so much polarization. But the pro-life movement, because it's been around for over 4 decades, it can really be a point to unify certain people, because Planned Parenthood, they just celebrated their 100th year of their founding, and they had this big celebration, but their brand is at an all-time low. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. I mean, very few people want to be attached to Planned Parenthood because they've been in so many scandals. They've been in so much turmoil just from the secular point of view. And I really think that's a way to get more people saying, you need to rethink the abortion issue. We're not a movement of a bunch of religious nuts trying to force our morals on everybody else. Quite the opposite. We're a movement of converts. We're a movement of former workers and former doctors and women who have had an abortion. And so this is a movement of converts, not of know-it-alls. And I think that really provides an open door for people to get involved.
We're going to have to leave it right there. I do understand you've got an expanded edition of 40 Days for Life. Has this been released yet, or when is it going to be?
It has. It was released this week. This is the expanded edition, the paperback edition of the book. We're very excited. This is the third printing of the book. And so Abby Johnson actually wrote the foreword to it, and people can get it on 40daysforlife.com. They can get it on Amazon. And the only thing that's not updated that I forgot at the end was it says that I have 4 children. I have 6 children now. And so my apologies to my last 2 kids. We didn't get that at the update, but it's an exciting new start and new finish.
And it's up on Religious Catalog. Shawn, thank you so much for allowing the Holy Spirit to land upon you and David and so many to bring renewal to the church and an awakening to our country and to this world regarding life.